Hey guys, and welcome back into the garage. Today we are working on the DSM again, and like promised we're going to be doing some brakes. So to start off, we've got one new caliper that needs to be installed on the driver's side rear. It had seized up on the handbrake cable here, which then later on snapped off. It was a whole ordeal. So we got a nice new one, and that's going to be going on. Very excited about that. Also, we'll be bleeding out the brake system. And that should be interesting. No, it's not going to be too bad. The power steering, or not power steering, the brake fluid reservoir and all that's right here. It's pretty easy to get to. But I am going to be doing it by myself, so we'll figure out how we're going to do that. And one final thing we're going to be doing to the brakes, we're going to be addressing these rotors. Now the rotors, as you can see, are nice and rusty. The thing is before the car was put up as a project car, these were literally brand new. I'm not even 100 miles on them. So we're going to be doing some cool stuff with that. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, we're going to be taking a drill, and this little guy right here. You may be wondering what the hell that is. This is called a flex hone for brake rotors. Now, what they're supposed to do is put a nice new surface on new rotors, or rotors that have just been cut, because they can have a small, kind of a spirally groove which will push against your brake pad there and kind of wear it down. It's really not that big of a deal. This is what I like to use it for, which are rotors like this. So this is our rusty one. And now, what I like to do for is when I got bad rotors, like this. This is our nice and rusty one, and this is a brand new clean one. You can see the surface there of the two of them. This is a rust surface, this is a clean. Now look, if you don't have a flex hone, you can't find one. They should be at your local auto parts store, but let's just say you can't find one. This kind of surface isn't that big of a deal. There's no grooves in it, really. It's just a layer of rust. However, keep in mind that it will eat away your brake pads, whereas this is a nice clean surface. I mean, look, it's not brand new looking brand new, but you can tell there's a major difference between that. It's a nice, beautiful surface. You can see a little bit of the grooves there, and that, which is a rusted surface. And so, yeah, we're going to be refurbishing them. There's no point in putting new rotors on when we already had new rotors. You could also take these to your local shop and just have them cut, which is decently cheap as well. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so before we, go and put on our new caliper, which I'm really excited about doing, let's get this cleaned up. Let's get our stuff out of the way, because it can get a little bit messy. Look at the cap on my PB blaster there. It gets messy over here. Okay, so this is basically what you do. First, we'll plug our drill into an electrical outlet for electricity power, because that's how things work. And you can see it turns to the right. Righty-tighty. Okay, look, this is what we do first. A little bit of PB blaster. We're just going to spritz it on here. Look, it doesn't have to be covered, doesn't have to be soaked in it. Just a little bit of that lubrication surface, okay? And we're just going to take a rag here and just wipe that down. Just kind of, like, we just want to lubricate the surface, okay? Won't cause too much heat. Now, this is why it gets messy, because it does splatter this junk everywhere. So, just kind of cover up whatever might be in the way here. Remember, guys, safety glasses when you're doing stuff like this. Safety first, always safety. You don't want to lose an eye doing something stupid. Well, you don't want to lose an eye doing something like this. I mean, if you're doing something stupid like, I don't know, skydiving or something, then that's cool. How do you lose an eye skydiving? I don't know. See, we just start this, kind of getting this quick surface here, and I did a 180, but you want to do kind of a 90-degree turn and just keep that U shape going. This does not require a lot of pressure. A little piece of the flex zone there. Obviously, it's time to get a new one, but it's all right. This will be our last rotor anyway. We'll be good to go. But yeah, not a lot of pressure. You just keep going back and forth, and it'll just take that rust off of there. And we just want the rust off of the surface so it's not really eating away at our brake pads. That's all. Also, if you're in a pinch, you can use this on a flywheel. Don't tell anybody I told you to do that. Okay? Don't be trying to resurface your flywheel with a flex zone. But if you're in a pinch, look, I get it. Working on cars is expensive, and everything has to be expensive, and everything has to cost tons of money. It doesn't. We could do this stuff ourselves, save some money, get some tools, you know, do all that. Okay. Oops. Okay, so I just went a little bit overboard on doing this backside here. I just wanted to show that you can really get a pretty clean surface. If you were to keep going and keep going, you could really get this, you know, looking brand new. But it's better than what it was, and that's all we needed it to be. Okay guys, so I'm moving to the front of the car. I'm putting the calipers and stuff back on. And I just wanted to share this with you guys real quick. So when you take off these calipers, and they're still attached to the brake lines, because you really don't want to remove the brake lines unless you have to. A little bungee cord like this hooked up to the springs is really the way to go. It's not putting any tension on my brake line. It's up and out of the way. Just kind of saves everything from being damaged. So, yeah, just a quick tip. Here's how I took this off, but I just wanted to just kind of film it as I was putting it back together here, because I had to do all four. And there's a lot of work to hone all these down. But it's 2 bolts here in the back for the bracket, and then your pads go in. Where's the other pad? There's the other pad right there. Squeakers go in the back. A piece of our hardware came off here. These stupid little hardware pieces are obnoxious and annoying and mandatory, so just bear that in mind. And then we're going to put the top caliper bolt in, swing it down, put the bottom caliper bolt in, and it'll all be together. So bracket, pads, caliper. Just to, let me show you what I'm doing here. Let's see, I think those are 17mm. The rears there. You know, there's a plethora of different bolt sizes for these. It's running so dang cold here. Freezing, man. So it's in warm weather. I can get in here and power wash a lot of this junk. It really does. Really good power wash. Okay. I was just making sure that spun freely. If it didn't, the car was in park, or but it's stick shift, so you know we're in neutral. Either the car goes into park, or you know something's stuck. If you've got an automatic, it's going into park. Make sure it's not in park, I guess. What am I saying? I don't know, dude. So they'll slide in there nice and easy. Little grooves on them as to how they go in. Oh, yeah. Forgot this one. You dive it into the front there. Right in my face, and it's not shining where I need it to. So you dive it into the front and then slide it onto the pieces that it's supposed to slide onto. Unless it doesn't slide onto those pieces. In which case you just got to give it a little motivation. And see if it'll work with you. Just take a hammer, soft-headed hammer. There we go. See? So they're nice and smooth. Like a glove. Now, take our top bolt. And do our caliper here. From our awesome bungee cord. Thank you, bungee cord, who's also happens to be color coordinated. Because that's how professional I am. Don't get that kind of professionalism anywhere else. Oh, good, the grease is frozen. My favorite. It's like, hey guys, what could make this a little bit harder? Like, oh, I know. Some negative winter weather, and a god dang frozen pack of grease. That one. Oh, yeah. You guys know it. So I'm just using the ratchet trying to loosen up some of this grease. It's not frozen solid, as some of you may be asking yourselves. It is, however, ridiculously thick. As you can see, just trying to get it started. Now the thing is these floating calipers, right? So the bolt actually bolts into the caliper itself, and you'll see this piece here is what the caliper slides on back and forth inside the little grease packed area there. It's always tons of fun. It's always harder to do when it's cold. Always. Okay. Not only am I uncomfortable, grease is all, there we go, see? A little bit easier. You jerks. Oh, just get it nice and tight. Caliper has been installed. Rotor still spins freely. Which means we did our job correctly. So let's go install that rear caliper. Okay, so here we're in the back of the car. We got our handbrake cable, brake line that's going to go in, and our new caliper. So to put the new caliper on, we need to take it apart. This bolt comes out of the bottom here. Okay, it's going to swing up and slide out. Nice and easy, guys. Nice and easy. Don't rip that thing out of there. You don't want to damage it. Okay, so unfortunately we got to use our old bolts for the bracket, but it is what it is. So before we do that, though, the rotor should probably go on, huh? That would be interesting. Rotorless brake system. Okay. There we go. Put our bracket in here. There we go. It's nice. Right. Got a nice shiny new bracket on there. Okay, now the fun stuff here. There we go. All the nice metal clips there. Put these all in place, huh? Precisely. Okay. So you see this little piece here? That's what's going to retain this in. And these little spring-loaded pieces are going to, you know, keep our pads nice and safe. Right there. You can really get it in and then push it forward. And you'll see that piece bent out there, but it holds it all in place nice and easy. Okay, pads going in. Do the spring-loaded part first, push it down, slides in. Same with the back, push down. Okay, now bring our caliper in. Swing down nicely over top of those. And then our bolt goes in the bottom. This little red plug here, that's where our brake line is going to attach to. Comes out, it's a little tight. It's not actually threaded, I don't think. I think it's just a piece of plastic. But I don't want to risk breaking off the plastic inside there. So, it's not actual threads, it's just like those push lines, but this is threaded so it was able to come out. Right, so here's our fitting. You'll see the peg goes there, and it's going to go like that. The only thing I'm missing is some crush washers, which came with the caliper. So let's go get those. These little brush crush washers are freaking important. Very freaking important. They will stop all this dumb crap from leaking. You don't want a leaky brake system, do you? Okay, so that in place there. I will say this, Mitsubishi, I love this. This bolt action, instead of having, like how the hard lines here would normally go into the caliper, having a bolt banjo fitting like this. Love it. Do not break this bolt. Okay, I've done that before. We do not want to ruin our new caliper. So look, it is going to crush these. And you can kind of watch them, and as soon as it starts to crush, you're tight enough. That's it. Done. Brake cable from inside the car, so that way I'm not struggling with this as much. Once this is in here, there's a bolt for this piece right here. We'll tighten that up, and then there's a clip that slides in there to retain everything in place. And then we can start bleeding the brakes. Okay, so we're ready to loosen up our handbrake cable here. And basically what we do is we come into the center console here. We're going to remove our cup holders if you have them. If not, there is usually like a piece of carpeting or something in the bottom of this, right? Just pull this out. And we have this nice little hole here. And you can see there's a bolt. You can see this is where the cables come into the car. Now, all you need is your 10mm ratcheting. So yeah, once you've spent an hour trying to find your 10mm, like I did, and you've got it, all you have to do is loosen this guy up. And there's not a whole lot of room, and so you just be patient. And for those of you who are like, well, what else can you use this? This is used to adjust your e-brake handle. So if you've got an e-brake handle that goes like all the way up, doesn't quite engage, you can tighten this down, get a little extra length out of it. Once you've gotten it past a certain point, you can see I'm doing it with my fingers here. There's no real resistance on it. And you'll see that's where the cables just kind of latch into. So I'm just going to loosen this guy up because it's really easy to adjust back and forth. And I just want to give myself as much length as I can to kind of just make my job in the back of the car easier. Okay, so we've adjusted our e-brake cable in the car back there, and now we just need to get this onto the little U shape here in the caliper. Take a nice pair of pliers. I like these channel locks because I get this kind of an angle if I really need to pull. And we're just going to pull it this way. It pulls nice and easy. We're going to have to manipulate a little bit here just to slide it in. Spin it so it fits in there. And give it a little push. Boom, that's it. So, push one way, pull the other way, close into place. And now we have clips that are supposed to go in right here to kind of retain everything. And that's where we're going to run into a small problem here. Is because the car's old, those clips went missing a long time ago. And we're going to have to tighten up that little, you see how that's a little loose, we'll tighten that up as well. So yeah, we need a clip for that. But other than that, I think we're doing alright. Okay, so what I was talking about here is we were going to have to make some clips for that. Now, working on Mitsubishis for a few years, anytime you come across cables, they like to retain them with these clips. And to make these, basically, you want to make sure the thickness is right so it'll fit into that slot and hold it nice and snug. If it's too thin, the clip's just going to fall out. Too thick, and you'll be trying to beat it in there forever. So I just take a little straight edge and a marker. And what you try to do here is just get right to the edge of your the hole in the washer. And just make a line. Just a nice straight line. Ta-da! Ta-da! So there we have it. We now have our own retainer clip. Specialty made. Look at that. Bada bing, bada boom. You probably want to see this. Now, when you make custom ones like this and you're knocking them down, don't knock it all the way down. Leave yourself that little bit of gap. See later on, see that little gap there? Later on, if I need to remove this, I can take the screwdriver and pry it out. If you pound it all the way down, and you don't leave yourself any kind of a gap, getting this out of here will be a big pain. Now, I've done it before, so just real quick, needle nose channel locks like I was just using will fit in between here, hopefully, if you've got the right size. And so you'll channel lock it down and kind of do what you can to wiggle it and get it out of there, and get creative with trying to get it out. But once you do get a small gap, that's all you need so you can get the screwdriver in there. But like I said, leave yourself a small gap. You will thank yourself later. Let's see. Okay, so got our brake fluid reservoir here all nice and topped off. This is ready to go. And we're going to start bleeding out our calipers. Now, there's several different ways you can do this. I bought this little kit from AutoZone over here. So it's just a little bottle with plastic tubing. It said it was a one-man bleeders kit, and it's pretty simple to use. I probably could have made one of these myself, but it was cheap. It was like $5 or $6, so I figured I'd give it a shot. And let's see how this works. So we've got air all the way through the lines. Obviously everything's been emptied and reinstalled, and we put new lines in and all that kind of good stuff, right? Especially that rear caliper. So what you want to do when you're bleeding out an entire system like this, bench bleed the master cylinder, which we've already done. You'll see another video about bench bleeding later on. So bench bleed the master cylinder, and then we're going to start with the furthest away component. So it would be the passenger rear caliper, because this is where our master cylinder is, and that one's on the opposite corner of the car. Most of that's going to flush out a lot of air and all that good stuff. So that's where we're going to get started. Our brake bleeders are right here. There's these little, but it was cheap. It was like $5 or $6, so I figured I'd give it a shot. And let's see how this works. So we've got air all the way through the lines. Obviously everything's been emptied and reinstalled, and we put new lines in and all that kind of good stuff, right? Especially that rear caliper. So what you want to do when you're bleeding out an entire system like this, bench bleed the master cylinder, which we've already done. You'll see another video about bench bleeding later on. So bench bleed the master cylinder, and then we're going to start with the furthest away component. So it would be the passenger rear caliper, because this is where our master cylinder is, and that one's on the opposite corner of the car. Most of that's going to flush out a lot of air and all that good stuff. So that's where we're going to get started. Our brake bleeders are right here. As these little things are. Before you start any kind of job like this, a few days before, but it was cheap. It was like $5 or $6, so I figured I'd give it a shot. And let's see how this works. So we've got air all the way through the lines. Obviously everything's been emptied and reinstalled, and we put new lines in and all that kind of good stuff, right? Especially that rear caliper. So what you want to do when you're bleeding out an entire system like this, bench bleed the master cylinder, which we've already done. You'll see another video about bench bleeding later on. So bench bleed the master cylinder, and then we're going to start with the furthest away component. So it would be the passenger rear caliper, because this is where our master cylinder is, and that one's on the opposite corner of the car. Most of that's going to flush out a lot of air and all that good stuff. So that's where we're going to get started. Our brake bleeders are right here. As these little things are. Before you start any kind of job like this, a few days beforehand, start soaking these in PB Blaster. If these break off, you are looking at a massive headache. I've had to deal with it before and have replaced calipers because of them before. So yes, PB Blaster those. A lot. Different sizes on all cars. On this one it's 10 mil. But it's going to be a small wrench like that. Just want to pump it. Obviously I've broken these loose. PB Blastered them. So we're going to break that loose. Okay. It doesn't have to be terribly loose, but just want to make sure we're getting some flow. See a little bit of fluid dripping out of it. And that's just being gravity fed right now. There's a lot of air and stuff in the line. But that is typical. If you crack the bleeder open, get a little bit of gravity feed. So now we're hooked up our bottle with this little thing that goes right into the end of the